Hey, Harpslingers, welcome to the Harpslinger Podcast, where each and every week we get to hang out with the greatest harmonica players in the music industry. If you're a fan of harmonica, you're a fan of harmonica players, you are in the right spot, my friends. If you're watching on YouTube, go down, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell so we can keep you up to speed on what's coming up in the future with fresh new content. And if you happen to be watching this on the Honer Music Facebook page, there's a share button at the bottom. We would love it if you'd share this on your personal page. Help spread the word. That would be awesome. All right, you're in for it today, everybody. My next guest was born in San Francisco, but he has played his fiery brand of blues all over the world. Easily one of the most recognizable blues artists in the industry. He's a multi-award-winning harmonica player, band leader, and songwriter. The Philadelphia Inquirer described him as one of the great characters in blues, a sharp-dressing, smooth-talking, harmonica-playing hep cat. And I couldn't have said that better. He is, folks. Here he is, alligator recording artist, Rick Estrin. How you doing today, Rick? How you feeling, man?
Good, Jamie. Thanks, man. So far, I'm still okay.
Yeah, we're getting through it. You know what I mean? It's been tough times. It's been tough times.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I know. You guys do. I mean, you're on the road all the time. And generally, if COVID hadn't hit, you guys would probably be on the road right now.
Absolutely, we would be. Yeah, and this was, I mean, many due to this pandemic. I mean, a lot of people have way tougher stories than me, but this was getting ready to be a great year for us. And
I know a new record, the whole 9 yards. I love the record.
Yeah.
Definitely want to talk about that today. Definitely want to talk about that. If you don't mind, I'd love to kind of start at the beginning. I know a lot of the harmonica players that are out there watching this are huge fans of yours, and they know a little bit of history, but some of them don't. So I know I of course did some research, and I'm a fan as well. But there were some things that I didn't know. Like for instance, you started on guitar as a young teenager. Is that right?
Yeah, but I never really learned how to play the guitar. I mean, I'm very primitive on the guitar, but I played enough to write songs. And I used to play on the bandstand because little Charlie could play harmonica.
Okay.
So when he wanted to play the harmonica, he'd just take the guitar off and hand it to me.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I know what it's like to be a primitive guitar player. Yeah, I'm in a band with two other guys who also sing and play guitar. We're like a sort of a Crosby, Stills and Nash sort of a thing, and we all play acoustic. And yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, I play harp in the band, of course, but I'm a primitive guitar player. But it does come in handy when songwriting. That's for sure. Well,
and one thing I think maybe I'm BSing myself, but I think by being that ignorant on the guitar, when I'm writing, I come up with stuff that a guitar player would never think of.
Okay.
I think. Like I said, I could be fooling myself.
Well, you might be fooling me too, because I'm always coming at it from the other standpoint. I'm always trying to co-write with other writers who are great guitar players, because I'm afraid I'm not going to come up with something very original on the guitar. But maybe I need to take your advice and give myself a little bit more credit. When did you first pick up the harmonica? Sort of make that transition and decide, this is I found my instrument.
I think when I was about 16, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it, in the Blues Brothers, there's that scene where James Brown says, "Do you see the light?" Was that a moment for you when you played the harmonica? You were like, "Oh man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing."
It was kind of weird. It was like, it was a decision. Like, when I was 15, my father died, and that caused all kinds of, emotional upheaval in my life and stuff. So, and I really needed something to latch onto, and I was just floundering for a while, and I wasn't going to school, and I was just being a general screw up. And there was this band that they all lived together in a house, down the street from my mom's house,
Right.
So I would go over there to indulge in stuff I couldn't do at home, and
Sure.
and and the leader of that band, like back then, uh, I could sing better than I can now. I got old, I beat the hell out of my voice, so
Yeah.
or whatever I did, I didn't know what I was doing, so I could kind of sing,
Hmm.
so the leader of that band heard me singing, and he said, wow, you got a pretty nice voice, you got to learn how to play one of these things, and gave me a harmonica.
All right.
So, and my mother had given me one already, so I had two.
Okay.
But for some reason, when that guy gave me that harmonica, I went into a room by myself in his house, and I stayed in there for, I don't know how long. It was probably a couple hours or something,
Hmm.
but I just stayed in there. I I just got the idea, I'm going to figure out how to do this,
Hmm.
and I'm sure it sounded terrible. I'm sure I figured out nothing in 2 hours, but during that time, the the it was like a decision, and
Hmm.
then the thought hit me, this is something I can learn to do, and I really needed something to focus on at that time, so and then I just became, kind of obsessed for several years.
Right. Right. That's what it takes. That's sort of the beauty of the harmonica. I feel like that it's so accessible right off the bat. You can
Hmm.
you can blow and draw into this instrument, and immediately you're making some sounds.
Yeah,
It's
you get a chord, you
yeah,
know
you get a you get a
which is
chord.
not the case on the piano or the guitar. You got
No,
to know
not at
what
all.
you're doing. You got to figure out where to put your fingers.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And then you hold up. It's enough to like sort of like the little shot of whatever that makes you go, okay, I'm gonna hole up in my bedroom or whatever, and I'm gonna learn how to play this instrument. It's I think
Yeah,
that's one of the magical things about the harmonica.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it didn't, so 16. You started at 16, but it wasn't very long afterward. You hit the road as a professional touring musician.
Kind of,
Yeah.
but when I was, well, I grew, this was in San Francisco in the 60s,
Mhm.
and it was
Okay.
hippie days and all that,
Yeah.
and all the stuff that went along with that,
Sure.
and just I somehow, I think, probably reading about um, these, they had these bands coming a lot from Chicago,
Hmm.
playing at the film auditorium and the ballrooms and stuff, and
Sure.
and I would go see people. You could see people like Muddy Waters and Junior
Hmm.
Wells,
Hmm.
and uh, Paul Butterfield was popular,
Yeah.
and and Charlie Musselwhite, and these people were coming to San Francisco and playing a lot. So I got to see that stuff, and you know, I'm such an idiot. I immediately turned into a snob, and I said, "Well, I'm going to just be the real thing," which
Yeah.
is absurd, right? I mean, I'm the real me, but I'm not.
That's it.
I can't be.
Yeah.
Anything else. But for a kid, you got something to aspire to.
Hmm.
So um and something about, I think, when I saw James Cotton, man, something
Hmm.
about that just killed me, man,
Hmm.
because there was such ferocity in his playing, and I think, being a confused, you know teenager, I wanted to scare people to keep them away from me, kind of. So I I I wanted to, that was something that to focus on,
Yeah.
an aspect of playing that, I never was able to achieve it like him, but
Well.
at one point I could kind of sound like him,
Yeah.
but
Nice.
yeah, the spirit and the aggression in there, that was just killed me, man. So what I did is I started going. I would see these bands like that at these ballroom places, but I, like I said, I want to be the real deal. I had this naive idea, and so I started going out to the ghetto, and checking out these clubs and playing, sitting in, finding, people were nice, man, let me sit in, because I
Yeah.
was like a novelty, being a white guy doing this stuff. So uh, I would go out to Hunters Point and in the Fillmore district and sit in with different people. And eventually I got a gig playing with this guy, Fillmore Slim, who was a big, he was a notorious big time pimp, not, I mean,
Right.
he was well known nationally, so I thought, man,
Wow.
this is
Like the real deal kind of
like,
pimp, like a real
oh yeah,
thing.
oh, absolutely. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, you look him up on YouTube, man. There's all kinds of, he was the main character in this Hughes Brothers documentary called American Pimp and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, he was, and this was when he was in his prime of doing that stuff. So I really felt like, yeah, this is really cool, which it was, man, for me. I mean, I was such an oddball, man. That was like going to Disneyland for me,
Yeah.
And but we had a gig, playing 5 nights a week in this club,
Wow.
and the guitar player was a great guitar player. He died a long time ago, but he was really great, from Houston, named Travis Phillips. He was a well known down there in
Mhm.
that scene, and we actually recorded one of his songs on our first album.
Okay.
Um, but I got to be around these people and learn music and some, I got to try on different lifestyle things that,
Yeah.
you know,
Uh-huh.
fortunately I was, uh, lucky enough to survive, and but it was an experience, man, and it was an education
Right.
for me. And
Mhm.
so during that time, I met Jerry Portnoy, who
Mhm.
was also just starting to learn how to play. We neither one of us knew anything, but we became friends because we had this
Yeah.
common interest, and we tried to help each other learn. And
Mhm.
one of us discover something and call the other one up. And he didn't live that far from me uh, at that time, but he was from Chicago, and his dad got sick. And when his dad got sick, he had to go. He went back to Chicago, and he started sending me postcards. This is
Sure.
way before
Uh-huh. Before the internet, right?
but yeah, right, way before the internet.
Yeah.
So he started sending me postcards about sitting in with the Aces and playing with all these people in Chicago and how cool it was. And he kept telling me, man, you need to come out here,
Yeah.
So uh, at that gig with Fillmore Slim and Travis ended, and we were in there for about a year. But then I had a girlfriend with a job, but she got sick of me, and
I know how that is too, sure.
so I, so I so I found so I found this other girl that liked me, that had roots in Chicago, and she bought me a plane ticket. I
Right.
was you know this is not nothing to be proud of, man. I was just kind of a low life at the time, and I've matured since, as well
Of
as
course, of course.
aged. I've matured a little bit and aged a lot. So I I went to Chicago, and I started, and I went back there and I played different, you know
Mhm.
with with all kinds of different people. I mean, and back then there was, I played with Muddy Waters. I played with, I can remember one night at Pepper's Lounge being on the bandstand. They had a super long, shallow bandstand,
Uh-huh.
and lined up on the bandstand, it was like Junior Wells, James Cotton, Carrie Bell, Big Walter, Charlie Musselwhite, me, and some other guy I didn't know.
Yeah.
And we just passed one B flat Marine band up and down the line. Back then nobody thought about that stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just passed the one harp up and down the line. It was just what an experience. Luckily, I was so young. I was too young to be intimidated. I thought I belonged up there,
Right on.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was just cool experiences of being there during that time,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Talk about Disneyland. I mean, being a kid in a candy store sort of scenario. I mean, and it sounds like these guys were really accessible to you right away.
People were really nice to me, man. Maybe because I was young, or like I said too, I was kind of a novelty.
Yeah.
And I think I knew enough to behave respectfully. I think
Yeah. Apparently, yeah. They
I
kept you
must have,
around.
because I never got my ass whooped. So
Yeah, and you'd learned a few things from Fillmore Slim by this point, so I'm sure you know how to get around. Yeah. So there, so you spoke of Muddy Waters and Carrie Bell, who I'm a big fan of course, of both of those guys. Love Carrie Bell and Muddy Waters, and so I've heard you tell the story before about there was Carrie had been his harp player at the time, and there was an opportunity that he thought maybe you might be able to step in and be his next harmonica player. Could you talk a little bit about that?
sure. What this was during that same period of time. My first, because I kept going back and forth between California and Chicago, because I had some substance abuse issues
Mm-hmm.
on and off for
Yeah.
a while in those days,
Yeah.
and so I kept doing what they call the geographic, kept going back and forth thinking I'd get my shit together one
Right.
place and get going.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this was during my first time in Chicago, and I was hanging with Jerry. He was from Chicago, so he knew the city,
Right.
and I was probably, I don't know if I think I was living at the Jonquil Hotel then,
Wow.
and so was he, and that was before he got an apartment and I was living on his couch. But,
Nice. Right on.
yeah. So he took me down to Maxwell Street the first Sunday morning. I woke up there, man, and then the next day was Monday, and it was Blue Monday at Teresa's Lounge. So we went to Teresa's, and it was packed, man. It was jumping. Everybody was in there, man,
Wow.
and I sat in, and I remember Junior Wells telling me how, being very complimentary to me and stuff, and Carrie Bell was there, and he told me, he said, you sound good. He goes, I'm playing with Muddy. I knew he had that gig at the time. And he said, if you come down to the Sutherland Hotel on 47th and Drexel this weekend, they're there Friday and Saturday. And he said he's getting ready to quit. And if I went down there, that if Muddy liked me, I could have the gig, So I was like, yeah, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went down there. Jerry went with me, and I went down there Friday night. This was a place that, in Chicago, you got different kind of liquor licenses. There's one that's a 2 o'clock license,
Okay.
and on Saturday night they're open till 3. And then there's the other type of license, probably a more expensive license that you can get, is a 4 o'clock license. So bars are open till 4, and on Saturday night they're open till 5.
Wow.
So this place had a 4 o'clock license. So I waited around all night, man. I had met Muddy. Kerry introduced me when I came in,
Yeah.
and I met him, and he said, "I'll call you up," right? So I sat around all night, man, till 4 a.m., and which was cool. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
great scene, and it was
Sure.
great music and all that. I mean, how are you going to complain about that? They had, Willie Maybon was the opening act, so it was they were alternating sets, and it was, this is like,
What
yeah,
a dream.
dream come true kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, I wish I had a time machine, because you can't appreciate that stuff
I know.
in the moment. You're young, you just sort of take things for granted.
Uh-huh.
But so I waited around all night, and he never called me up. So at the end of the night, I got up the courage to ask him about it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Come back tomorrow." Years later, I realized he was probably just checking me out, man, to
Yeah.
see how,
How much
see
you wanted it, right?
how much, how bad I wanted it. So I came back the next night, and Jerry came with me too, and I sat in on long distance call, and then they took a break, and I was standing there talking to Jerry. I'm going, "How'd I sound? What did it sound like? Was it all right?"
Yeah.
And Muddy was sitting over by the wall at a kind of a booth type of thing, and he had some women around him and stuff, and
Mhm.
and he halfway stood up and went like this, just kind of leaned forward and went like this. And I walked over there, and he leaned over the table, and he was shaking his finger in my face. He's going, "Boy, you out of sight, boy. You play like a man, boy.
Oh,
You got that sound, boy. I know that sound when I hear it. That's my sound." And
yeah.
I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I was like speechless, levitating. I couldn't believe. So he asked me what was I doing and all that, and I told him, well, and I think at the time I guess I wasn't at the Jonquil Hotel. Like this I I referenced this girl that liked me, that had roots in Chicago. So I
Hmm.
was actually staying. She had come there right after me, and I was staying somewhere with her. And God bless her, man. She was a nice person. I didn't dig her that much. So uh um I, I and I was an idiot too, because I had a girl, this girl that had was in San Francisco, that kind of ran out of a sense of humor on me and kicked me out. I missed her, I was in love. So
Yeah.
I told him, well, I'm thinking about going back to California. And he goes, well, don't leave for Muddy. He asked me what was I doing. I said, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about going back to California, but and he said, well, don't leave for at least 3 weeks.
Mhm.
So I kept waiting, and I gave him the phone number where I was staying with this girl,
Mhm.
and I um and he gave me his phone number,
Wow.
and I kept waiting for him to call, and I didn't have the balls to call him, and I just kept waiting for him to call. Well, up the street from Jerry lived Bruce Iglauer, who owns Alligator Records.
Okay.
But
Uh-huh.
at that time there was no Alligator Records. He worked at the Jazz Record Mart in the stock room or something. I don't know what he did,
Right.
but he was trying to do different things, and and he was trying to be Kerry Bell's manager. And the reason Kerry was going to leave Muddy was he was going to go on his own, and Bruce was trying to book him a European tour. So by Bruce being Jerry's neighbor, and I had met him, I asked him, I said, man, is Kerry going to leave or Muddy's band or what? Because, I'm thinking about splitting.
Right.
And he said, yeah, I don't think he's going to leave. This European tour isn't coming together. So I left. So then,
Yeah.
evidently he was looking for me, because later on, Calvin Jones, Fuzz, the bass player, he told me, he goes, man, we were trying, what happened to you, man? You lambed out,
Oh
we're
man.
yeah. But in in hindsight,
Yeah.
like, I was such an idiot in those days, man. That wouldn't I could have played the gig.
Yeah.
I think I could, because that particular gig was something that was my focus of trying to learn the harmonica. Was I wanted to be like Cotton. First time I saw that band, just knocked me out, man. I saw them when I was 17, and Paul Osher had just joined the band, and it was Otis Spann and S.P. Leary and Sammy Lawhorn and Luther Georgia Boy Snake Johnson and Pee Wee Madison, and it was just like they were wearing uniforms and stuff, and they had processed hair and gold teeth, and I'm just, oh man, I wanted to, and Paul was doing what I had in my mind to do, where he sounded like the lowdown blues,
like the stuff.
And so that was something I wanted to do, and but in reality, man, I was such an idiot in those days, man. I'd have probably gotten killed or killed somebody or something. I didn't need Muddy Waters co-signing how cool I thought I was already. So and so eventually I had an opportunity to get with Little Charlie just a couple years later, or a few years later, really, because I was 20. So 6 years later, a lot of there's a few ass whippings in between there, but I got with him, and I was ready to begin growing up, and it was good for me because that afforded me an opportunity to develop as a front man, as a songwriter, and all that. So
yeah, that's I find it really interesting how all of our paths in music in the industry are different. They're like a thumbprint. And sometimes things don't work out the way that we foresee, the way they're supposed to be. But maybe, hopefully, in the end, it works out best for you as the artist. And you must have taken a lot from those guys. I mean, as far as stagecraft and stuff goes. I mean, because you're a consummate performer from the way you. From the moment you walk on a stage, the way you talk to an audience, to the clothes that you wear. I feel like show business is important to you. I mean, how important is show business to being a successful act? I mean, do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do know what you're trying to say, and I used to think it was well, it's just part of me, but I used to, be thinking like an entertainer in my own way. First of all, if you're going to do that, you got to learn it and internalize it. Or I did. I had to learn it, internalize it, and it had to come out my own thing. Otherwise, if it, just imitating something that I saw, I'd have messed it up,
Right.
So, but if you can see that background picture,
yeah,
okay, that's me. That little picture on there, with the harmonica, that's me. when I was 18.
Right on, man.
And that was during the time when I was playing with Fillmore Slim, but I was also right around in that time, I also was doing some gigs with the guy that's pictured just above me,
Mm-hmm.
Roger Collins, who was just a huge help to me, man. He encouraged me to write songs. He explained to me about show business, the show part and the
Mm-hmm.
business part.
Right.
Um, and I was, even though I was a young idiot at the time, I was smart enough, I guess, to really pay attention and appreciate what he was willingly sharing with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned a lot about presentation and show business from him, and a lot of and from watching him on stage, because he was just a great entertainer, just riveting to watch. You know,
Right.
he could sing, he could dance, he could do impressions, he could do comedy, he could do all kinds of stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took me years. Probably later on, once I got with little Charlie, I started developing that stuff after a while. But the lessons that I picked up on from watching him and Roger Collins in particular um, were invaluable, for
Right.
me,
Mm-hmm.
because I was able to see how somebody could, uh, just captivate and manipulate. Kind of a not the best word to use, but
But what do
how
you mean?
somebody
A
could
good way.
just yeah, in a good way, just take an audience on a trip, man, where you want to take them, and I've seen people do that, and there's plenty of people who do it way better than me, but I got some of that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. You are you, and I think that's a lesson in and of itself that most artists, well, some artists just never learn that. They spend their
Right,
time
right.
just trying to cop what they see on a music video or on stage or whatever, and they never sort of internalize, like you said, and take those lessons, make that their own. Very much like a harmonica player. You don't want to go out and just be little Walter. It's great to learn all of that stuff. You want to do that, but
Mhm.
you got to, at some point, you got to be yourself, and that no one does yourself better than you, right?
That's true for everyone,
Yeah.
and yeah, and if I'm going to be honest, if I could have been Bobby Bland, I would have. you know, if I if I
Right.
could,
Yeah.
or if I could have been Jackie Wilson, I would have been Jackie Wilson.
Right.
But that wasn't in the cards, man.
I hear
I
you.
wouldn't. I mean, if there's been plenty of guys I would think, man, if I could sing like that, why would I even pick up a harmonica, man?
Oh,
Or
wait.
or I would be a guy like Junior Parker, just play it, a little bit here, just for
Yeah.
flavor.
Yeah, right, right. Well, but you are. I think you're a great vocalist, and you're a vocal stylist. I mean, I think when I listen to you, I always think, wow, that guy sounds really cool. I like that guy's voice. He's got something to say. I mean, so you mentioned Bobby Bland. You mentioned a couple of others. Who were those your big heroes? Who inspired you as a singer?
Oh, as a singer, I think, because, well, like I said, when I was younger, those people inspired me because I had more of what's normally thought of as a decent voice, and as I beat the hell out of my voice or whatever happened, I think acid reflux and being a coffee addict and all that stuff.
Touring the way you do. I mean, that's all those
Yeah,
gigs in a row.
touring all the time
Yeah.
and needing to get up there, and also the other thing too, and this is something for people, if they, hopefully it'll help them out, knowing what you're doing would have helped, knowing what I was doing.
Hmm.
And because now I understand that if there's any feeling of effort involved, you're not singing properly.
Right. That's right.
But but being young, I just had I had the whatever it was to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
to make those sounds, it feels, when you're watching and listening to guys that can make those sounds, it feels like, wow, they're really digging. They're really, they're really, maybe I need to start smoking, or maybe need to drink more whiskey or something, to get this sound, but that's not the case. It should be effortless and sort of weightless almost, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's funny too, because now when I hear that stuff, I can hear that aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have the tools to Well, anyway, everything worked out okay.
But everything has worked out great.
Yeah. When I was younger, I would have liked to have been a guy like that. And but over time, getting with little Charlie was a big shaper of what I became, because he was such a compelling instrumentalist and a great showman as well on the guitar, that I had to develop something of my own in order to so I wouldn't become just an afterthought in the show,
Right.
So, even though I'm writing all the songs, I'm singing all the songs, but I mean, he was
little Charlie, right?
Something, man. So it just evolved over time.
Right.
Out of what I used, what I could use, what I had.
Do you now now that you're, I mean, if you weren't experiencing this COVID situation and you were out on the road, do you warm up as a vocalist before the show?
I have to do a lot of things. I have to.
And general maintenance on the road can be rough. I mean, when you're not sleeping, you're sleeping in a different bed every night. You're you're meeting people after the show. It gets tough. It's tough.
It's kind of demanding, but I was never big on being bossed around, man. So it works out okay for me. I mean, there's a lot of work involved. In the beginning, when I was a kid, I was thinking, oh man, that'd be a slick way to avoid labor, but it's it's work, but it's also a beautiful life, man. And as far as different beds every night and restaurants every day and all that stuff, man, that's me, man.
Yeah.
I'm about that, man. Sometimes the bed is not that great, but you try to keep the level of lodging,
at a
certain minimal,
right,
requirements and stuff. And over time you learn, and it's a challenge sometimes, but that's me, man. One thing I noticed, man, during this COVID deal, there's nothing to do. I eat whatever I want anytime, and I keep losing weight, and but I'm not sick or anything,
right
like that. But what I realized is, I'm a restaurant man. So now that I'm not eating in restaurants all the time, I
hear you.
Naturally don't, I don't eat a lot of bread and all that kind of stuff that makes you work up.
Yeah, I know. It's so easy on the road to that's one of the perks of being on the road is, if you're, as you say, at a certain level, you're eating pretty good,
Yeah,
because
it's included too,
Right.
You got a meal in there, then you got a dressing room hospitality and all that stuff. And I'm not that disciplined, man. I'm a mindless eater, man. So the only thing that when I'm working, the only thing that keeps me from, blowing up is vanity and,
totally.
not wanting to buy all new clothes and stuff.
Yeah. Sounds like we have a lot in common. Right on. Well, hey, let's switch gears just a bit, because I want to definitely talk about your new record, Contemporary. Now, I've been of course listening to it. It's a great record, and your voice sounds great on it. I think it sounds fantastic. But you wrote or co-wrote all of the songs and co-produced this with your guitarist,
Yeah, with Kid
Ed
Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
so you wear a lot of hats. You're also a record producer. What's it like
In
to?
a way, in a way, I
Right.
am. I'm not a well-rounded record producer, but
Hmm.
I have some ideas that I
Hmm.
think are really, I'm a fan.
Hmm.
I'm a real fan, and and I analyze stuff that I hear. So, and luckily, Kid Anderson is a genius guitar player, producer, engineer, and he understands enough so I can, when I uh, say, suggest something, he knows exactly how to implement it. He knows exactly what I'm talking about because he has a big frame of reference, a big mental palette of different sounds and different, you know,
Right.
uh, and so he can implement it, man. He
Hmm.
can. So I've produced some stuff. We got one record right now that I produced with Kid uh, that's up for a Grammy. So
Wow.
Frank Bay's record, yeah, really really nice. Makes me feel good. He was a great guy, and he passed away earlier this year, man. So really nice that we could do that. I wish he would have been around to,
To enjoy that.
get receive the honor and stuff. But anyway, yeah. So and we just have so much fun in the studio. Kid he's the best, man. I mean, when it comes to guitar players, I've been the luckiest guy in the world, man. You
Yeah.
know,
Right on.
it's, little Charlie was one of a kind, and that's always, you never knew what he was going to come out with, man. But he was
Right.
just great for me to listen to, man. And he
Yeah.
taught me a lot about discipline and things like that.
Right on.
And Kid is just an amazing guy, man.
Your whole
You know,
band is fantastic. Just Your
absolutely,
drummer's
man.
fantastic. The keys player is just fire.
Yeah, yep, yep. He was our bass player for years, man, and he was too smart to stick with the bass, man. He had too much going on in his brain, so he switched to organ,
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah, he's got a lot
yeah,
going on.
and the drummer is like the eighth wonder of the world, man. If you see that guy, I mean, he's just a you know
Yeah.
excellent, excellent, perfect drummer, but he's also a showman like crazy, man. He was in Little Richard's band for 17 years,
Wow.
so
All right.
he's a real showman, man. He's like
Wow, man.
gravity. He's gravity defying, man.
Yeah.
In the show, yeah, man. It's. I mean, I feel we always had a good act. I think
Yeah.
we always had pride in putting on a good show. When we got Demar on drums, man, I really kind of have sympathy for anybody who's got to follow us.
Right. That's the way it should feel. That you guys play so well as a unit. I mean, I can tell that you get along uh outside the
Absolutely,
studio and off the bandstand, that the hang is good, which is so
absolutely,
important.
and for me, and I think for a lot of people, and maybe everybody, that makes such a difference, man.
Hmm.
That makes there's an intangible thing. You could have the most competent, efficient, great creative players, and you could all be, know the arrangements inside out and all that. But if you don't have that
Hmm.
that love for each other, man, and that bond, it's not going to come out sounding the same.
It's weird how that comes off the stage as fluid as the music. I mean, everything is influenced by it, but that general feeling that people see, they're like, "Wow, these guys really get along."
Yeah,
They really
yeah.
get-
That's
you know,
it's when a band feels like a team, and they
Mhm.
have that spirit in them.
Yeah.
It's there's something, and sometimes it's not even the best musicians even doing that. I mean, I happen to have, you know, everybody in my band. I'm just blessed, man. They're just top notch, great musicians. But I've seen, there are bands, especially like, Chicago, like low down blues bands, where guys maybe don't have they just do what they do,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is, invaluable. I mean, you can't beat that. But I'm thinking of somebody like Hound Dog Taylor, or somebody
Mhm.
who that band was just killer, man.
Yeah.
What they did, nobody else could do. It wasn't like they were consummate musicians or anything, but they just had a thing, man.
Yeah.
And the spirit was there,
Mhm.
and the spirit is the thing, man.
It sure is. It's yeah, man. It's intangible, but it's so evident. You can just, like as I said a moment ago, you feel it, you can see it happening, and that's what creates, I think, the magic that separates
Absolutely.
the men from the boys. That's for sure. Well, yeah. Do all of the guys in the band write? Because I noticed. I know you do the brunt of the writing in the band. You write sometimes with Kid as well, right?
Hmm.
And so, do you prefer to write solo, or do you like to I live in Nashville, so co-writing here is like a big
Oh, I
deal.
know. Yeah.
It's like a big deal. So but sometimes that gets in the way. I don't know. I'm just curious what your approach is to songwriting.
My approach is usually, my method has been this. I'll write something, and like I said, I'm a primitive guitar player. I write on guitar
Mm-hmm.
generally, and I'll bring it to the band, or maybe just to the guitar player, and they'll sort of glean what I was
Right.
going for, and turn it into something that's a little more sophisticated than
Mm-hmm.
what I was, uh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
than my caveman approach to how I'm hearing it,
Yeah.
and I've been lucky enough to where they would take it and hear something, and if it wasn't what I had in mind, I can say that, and they'll, you know experiment around until I'm going, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, that's way better,
Mm-hmm.
or but that's generally the approach. And I used to have a guy. He passed away last year. Uh, in my early days with Little Charlie, he was a guy I could write with, named Donnie Woodruff, who was just a super talented guy, man.
Yeah.
Just a great singer, songwriter, you know, brilliant mind, but uh, and we wrote a few things together. We could write together easily because I helped him write some songs for himself, or for projects he was doing, and we just had an understanding, like if it was his song,
Mm-hmm.
then uh, I had to please him,
Mm-hmm.
and if it was my song, he had to please me,
Right.
and it had to be, he would, and neither one of us would let like our feelings or personal,
Yeah.
our egos wouldn't get in it too
Sure.
much.
You leave it at the door.
It's
Right.
like, yeah, it's not, it's his call,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that worked.
Mhm.
It's so I think for me to write with somebody, it has to be the right person. I've people have tried to enlist me to write with them
Mhm.
because they maybe like my writing, and it's worked out to varying degrees. But if you got to tiptoe around somebody, man, it's
It's a it's a
and
drag, right?
the other thing, I bet you because you're in an environment where you're around professional writers, being in Nashville and stuff, and I'm not saying I'm a professional, but I have a certain take. You know, I don't know if I'm that caliber like they got there, but I have a certain kind of, I've carved out my own niche kind of in writing. And I think, you know, for the type of stuff I do, you know, I think it's kind of professional.
I think it is too.
So, but everybody ain't a songwriter. And the problem in blues, especially, not so much in country music because you got professional writers there, but in blues and in a lot of rock, I think, something happened, man, where like the Beatles, they ruined everything, man. I mean, because they were fantastic. You know, obviously they were,
unbelievable, right?
Changed the world, right?
Right.
But after that, if you didn't write your own songs, you somehow weren't legitimate, you know?
Right.
And Frank Sinatra didn't write his own songs. Elvis Presley didn't write his own songs, you know?
Sinatra's my favorite vocalist. I mean, who can phrase and had that sort of, that delivery? No one.
He's an artist, man.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right.
But somehow, ever since the Beatles, I think, in a way, if you didn't write your own songs, you're somehow not legit, you know?
Right.
And so and in blues, where the approach is often, okay, I better write a song so I can get to the guitar solo, you know?
I love it. Yeah. Well, I mean,
true, man.
Yeah. But I feel like you're selling yourself short just a little bit, maybe a whole lot of it, because I mean, you're not only writing songs for yourself and people that are like in your immediate sort of atmosphere. I mean, you've written songs that have been on Grammy-nominated records for other artists, Coco Taylor, John Hammond, a lot of guys like Robert Cray. Those are, that's really impressive. And two, I would say that, the Nashville sort of approach to songwriting can get very sort of assembly line, sort of formulaic, and it loses the jazz. It loses the stuff.
No, I'm sure it does. But man, the tradition of writing there.
It's a great tradition.
Some of the people, man, I mean, people that everybody knows, like Roger Miller, or Robertson, or Willie Nelson, and
you just mentioned three of my favorites right there.
Hank Cochran. I mean, there's just so many guys there. I mean, I'm not thinking of them all. Who's that one guy from California?
Oh, Dwight Yoakam?
No, he's a great writer too, man.
Yeah,
he can write great, man. And one thing I really dug was this really is a testament to Marty Stewart, how cool he is.
He is super cool.
There was a special after Roger Miller passed away, and I guess Marty Stewart had been pestering Roger Miller, like, let's write a song together, and Marty Stewart told this story on himself, and he said finally Roger Miller just told him, he says, hey man, does Picasso need a co-painter?
That's fantastic.
And the reason why he mentioned that was he tied it in. He was about to introduce, I guess, Dwight Yoakam, who had this song, It Only Hurts Me When I Cry. And it was a co-write with Roger Miller, and he was like, how did you get this guy to write with you? How did you get this? Which, that's Roger Miller's title, Oh,
absolutely. Probably so. Yeah. Roger Miller was a genius. Yeah,
man. So I mean, there's just so many guys like that are just the best, man. There, I really, I'm a big fan of all kinds of songwriting.
Yeah, man. I think that's interesting that you've been inspired by a lot of different kinds of songwriters. But you know, you've been inspiring other guys to write. I had the great opportunity to speak with Dennis Grunling recently, and he credits you with inspiring him to write songs.
That could be, man. I tell you, I had a song called Dennis, a good friend of mine and everything, and a great player, man. But we there's a song, I still do it, but I wrote it a long time ago, called "If You Dig It, Don't Do It." And when I was playing at I think it was the opening of the House of Blues in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I saw this little long-haired kid down, below me, right in the front, below the stage there, and he was dancing by himself. And we started doing that song, and it's got a lot of words.
Okay.
He knew every word, man. Wow. He knew every word. And later on, not that much later, but I met Dennis, and he reminded me, and I remembered that because that's a lot of words for somebody to know.
Right.
And that was him, you know.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great. He's a great song lover too. It's funny you should say, "If you dig it, don't do it." I wrote a song with my band called "If You Dig It, Do It."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there must be something in the ether with that title. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, you got the alliteration of the D alliteration, but yeah.
Yeah. That's great. We sort of stole that from Jim Croce had this saying, I'm a big Croce fan too. And hey man, if you dig it, do it. If you really dig it, do it again or do it twice, you know. He passed way too early. He probably would have written that, but so we took the opportunity to write it and it's a great.
That's good though, yeah, because it's a good illustration. I'm naturally negative. So you can
That's naturally negative. I love it.
Yeah. That's my inclination, man. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I've been there. I've done that. Don't do it. Take my word for it. That's great. So, all right. So, what's next? What's next for Rick Estrin and the Nightcats?
I just want to bring this because I'm proud of this, man. I don't care.
Yeah. Bring it up.
You mentioned our last album, right?
Uh-huh.
And we were getting ready to work that thing because it just came out in the last fall,
Mm-hmm.
And COVID happened and everything, but we made a video. I don't know if you've seen it, but you should check
black
it
and
out.
white at the beginning, right? Like a silent.
Yeah. Video for the title track, man, and that's one that was a co-write, and so you were asking me about different ways of co-writing with people.
Mm-hmm.
There's I want to mention this. I wrote a couple of songs with Dave Alvin. He was so easy to write with, man. He was perfect, man, to write because he just was helping me write my songs, you know.
Right.
And he understands blues and he understands songwriting.
Uh-huh.
And there's all different ways. And I've co-written a couple of things with Kid, where Kid, my guitar player, Kid Anderson, he'll have an idea. He doesn't seem to have the patience to really sit there and, I have the approach of I'll edit the shit out of it, man, to make it sound completely natural and off the cuff and conversational.
That's it.
I will hammer it out, man, until it flows just like it was nothing.
Yeah,
that's what I believe in for the type of stuff I write. And so there's songs that I wrote with him. Now that title track, I wrote it, and then Kid had the idea of doing the black and white part in the beginning, where it's real old school, old lo-fi and everything.
Yeah.
And then to abruptly switch it to auto tune and all that.
Right.
And a funk beat, with a probably had an 8-string bass or something, and then to add a rap, which
Yeah.
Demar wrote the rap.
Okay, I was
Demar
going
wrote
to
the
ask you
rap
that.
in there. So that's how that got split up. His kid had this vision for the arrangement,
Mm-hmm.
that was so radically different than what I had, that and so perfect for the message of the song.
Yeah.
And then Demar wrote the rap, so that was the contributions of each guy on that song.
It's a great
So
track.
different ways of doing it. Yeah, that thing, man, we had so much fun, man. We had so much fun putting that together. I mean, it's so much fun when you're working with people that it's like a team, and you have a good idea and everybody's contributing, and just we were laughing our ass off, man.
It sounds like it. Yeah. I mean, I love that track actually. And I was like, wow, there's a rap in this. This is really cool. Well, it's fitting. Contemporary. I get it. That makes it, it's so cool. Yeah.
And we made that video on the road. Check out that video, man. We made that on the road in a couple of days. Kids stayed up all night and edited it.
Wow.
And it cost a total of $80.
Wow. Wow, man. People are spending thousands and thousands to do that.
And that video is, to me, man, is just, I don't know, maybe I'm just like a narcissist or something, but it makes me laugh, man, every time.
That's good. No, it's great. That's fantastic. And there's a scene in it where you're in the bathroom or something on a telephone or.
Oh yeah. Where those guys are, we found a payphone.
A payphone, right?
We found a rotary phone.
Yeah.
I went all on a quest to the mall to find a man bun that I could pin onto my head and all.
That's great. So the record's out. I mean, are you? I guess when we get back to the real world, you're going to go out and support this record, right?
Hopefully, I mean,
yeah.
Who knows, man? What it's going to be like when. It may be a long time before it's like the real world, because so many, it's really,
I know,
been devastating to this business,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of businesses. I mean, I don't want to be, minimize anybody else's pain, because, but it sucks for entertainment. That's for sure, man.
It sure does. Yeah. I mean, a lot of us are scrambling, trying to figure out, it's when you're a creative person, you find ways at different outlets. This podcast, for instance, Honer's been great to join forces with me on this podcast and let me, talk about a narcissist. Somebody I get to hang out with all my heroes, all these great harmonica players, for an hour or so once a week. And so that's been a great sort of outlet for me to sort of be creative, but to just, get to know guys like you. And so some good things have come out of it, but, it's just been, I feel brutalized. It's just, I just
it's taken some getting used to, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've just been basically, in the house, man. I'll go out for a walk every day, walk a couple miles or something, and I'll go to the grocery store and stuff like that. Other than that, a few times I've gone out to a restaurant and ate in the car or brought it home. But you know what else is funny is I feel like being a road musician, and this is such a radically different lifestyle from that. But on one hand, on the other hand, there's something, I was talking to Jim Pugh about this too, is that it sort of prepared, that being a road musician sort of prepared me for this as well, because you got so much time to kill, and you're so adept at entertaining yourself. And it's kind of like being on the road, and once in a while where you're like so happy because you got like 3 days off in a row and you get to stay in the same hotel and
totally
stuff.
yeah
it's a lot like that, man.
Yeah.
Where no pressure, no nothing. You just,
Right.
it's just,
Right. I feel you, man. I know. I mean, it's part of me is like I miss being on the road, but it's been nice to spend some time with my wife.
mhm.
Though I'm sure she's sick to death of me by now. She's ready for me to hit the road again, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
I'll bet, man.
she's going to have some time before that happens, I'm afraid. But yeah, well, I mentioned in the email a couple of times, and we didn't get a chance before this session to actually talk about it. So, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't want you to feel any sort of obligation because some guys are doing this and some guys aren't. But I'm including if the guest would like a lick of the week, I'll include that in the thing. Otherwise, we just won't.
I've never been
A lick guy.
not much. No, I mean, you would, as
I hear
much
that
as
a
you,
lot. Actually, I think
yeah,
that's something to talk about.
it's not, that isn't the thing to me, because a lick doesn't, has no meaning outside of context,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think I'm more of a groove guy.
All right, right on, right
You
on.
know?
You know what? I think there's a lesson in that. Dennis Grinling said the same thing. He said, licks are weird. It's like, I feel like they're like cliches. What if you were walking around all day just talking in cliches?
Mhm.
How uninteresting that would be. So, and I get that. So maybe I'll discontinue the lick of the week because maybe
Oh well,
maybe it's
it's
not that
fine.
cool of a thing. But
It's fine because there's people that could probably play some amazing thing,
mhm.
but
I
some of
think there's a
it's
lesson there, Rick, that it's not about the lick, man. It's about,
yeah,
as you said, it's for you, it's about the groove. It's about the picture.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to work with a guy out of Oakland named Sonny Lane. Man, he was a
Hmm.
great guy, blues guy to his heart. Man, he was from West Helena, Arkansas too,
Okay.
and he grew up with that stuff, and his whole family was, that's they were from that,
Yeah, yeah.
and he used to say, I probably can't say it on the podcast, but
You can say
he would
whatever you want,
say,
man. I'll bleep it out if I have to.
okay, yeah, bleep it. Yeah, you got a bleeper.
Well, I will. I'll find a bleeper.
Yeah, okay, good. Because he used to
Jason
go, man,
Ricci said all kinds of
he goes,
stuff.
man,
It's okay.
all these guys trying to play licks and learn licks and do these different licks and things. Man, fuck a lick.
Yeah. I love it. That's
That's
what we
what
should
he
title
said.
this.
Yeah, yeah, man.
That's great. That's a great lesson,
Because
actually.
it's about the, what are you saying?
Right, right,
What are
right.
you saying? You can use a lick to say something,
Mm-hmm.
but just on its own, I get it. It's just a different approach, I guess, because in they have the slam dunk contest. They have,
Mm-hmm.
they rate people in figure skating and stuff like
Right.
that. So I guess it's, um, it's valid in a different world, but in my mind, man,
Yeah. This is good. This is like a master class. I mean, I think a lot of guys, including myself, can benefit from this perspective and not get hung up on do I need to learn I need to learn some new licks or teach me some licks, and
yeah, it's the totality. It's
right.
it's a statement.
Mm-hmm.
It's not,
Right.
and yeah. So
I dig that, man. I appreciate you so much for coming on and spending this time with me today, man. It's been great to meet you and hang out.
it's been fun, man. It's been fun talking, man. I hope I didn't just talk your ear off, man.
Are you kidding? No, man. This is exactly what I was hoping this day would be like. So you made my day, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I hope we can stay in touch, and I hope you'll come on the show again sometime, and we can hang out again.
Absolutely. Yes, it's been great, man.
Right on. Well, peace and love to you. Stay safe, stay healthy out there.
Thank you so much, man.
You got it, brother. And this every world. I will. This world's going to get back to it, and you're going to get back to it too. And I can't wait to catch you show live. I feel like I've been watching so much of you.
Man, one of these days we'll meet, not on Zoom.
Not on Zoom, brother. That's right. All right. Have a great day. Rick Estrin, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Peace.